Hi everybody, Ryan and Dawn here with Roll for Initiative, and with the big game coming up, we thought that we would talk a little bit about Sportsball in tabletop RPGs.
So the first one we're going to touch on is from Shadowrun, the Sixth World. And while in Shadowrun they have all of kind of our major sports, there are two distinct new sports. One of them is Urban Brawl, which is kind of take football and set it in a couple city blocks with weapons and armor, and that's Urban Brawl. It's supposed to be non-lethal, but accidents do happen sometimes more often in Urban Brawl than you would expect.
Also in Shadowrun there is combat biking, and so it's really sort of just capture the flag in an arena, but with motorcycles and motocross and all kinds of stuff. And there is a heavy side of combat to that as well. Something that's really just neat about having that built into the world is it helps with world building.
Yeah, it adds a nice flavor and makes the world a little bit more real.
They also might help with story hooks from time to time. Maybe you have a new GM that just wants to plan out one session, and it can be while everybody's at a combat bike tournament and they see something suspicious, and now all of your Shadowrunners are off and it's not even a normal job, but they have this one session. Or it could be that they're walking through town and all of a sudden find themselves confronted with a bunch of street gang members who just didn't happen to like the fact that someone in your party is wearing the colors of a different Urban Brawl team. You never know, but there could be some really fun moments for story hooks.
If you're looking for a game that really is playing a sport, check out Blood Bowl. It takes place in an alternate Warhammer fantasy setting, and the entire game is set up that you are playing essentially football with fantasy races.
If you're in a D&D group, you can still have a lot of fun with all of the sports ball tournaments. It'd be easy to use your strength, dexterity, and constitution to talk about how agile you play, how hard you play, and how long you can last in maybe a giant soccer game, one town versus another town, or in things like a caber toss and that sort of stuff. 3.5 has very specific rules for jousting. I'm not sure if 5th E has yet or not, but I'm sure that if they haven't, then someone has come up with the equivalent rules. And then there's a whole bunch of rules for tournament and elimination and simple friendly wagers. And none of it is lethal damage, and so those rules are built in if you want that fantasy style games tournament.
And I'm sure that there are probably people that have figured out rules and stuff like that for playing things like soccer or football in D&D. I did a little bit of searching and I found 3 different games that have mechanics or are built around a sport. There is Tools of Ignorance that's completely built around pro baseball. So it has mechanics for not only the game, but also I believe it has mechanics for like drafting and managing your team. Kind of a fantasy baseball, but add in the roleplay aspect as well. I also found a game called Roller Girls Versus. As you can probably guess from the name, is a RPG focused around roller derby. So while the main focus of the RPG seems to be much more of a social roleplay, it does have mechanics for the derby part. And the third game is Weird Times at Charles Fort High. And that apparently within the game has rules for a Quidditch-like game. So if you are fans of Harry Potter, maybe check that out. I haven't played any of those 3, so I'm not sure how well the mechanics actually work, but it sounded interesting.
With so many of the different kinds of sports and the one-on-one sports, you can certainly find ways of using non-lethal damage. So you could have a boxing match, you could have a wizard's duel, you could have even just straight up arm wrestling. Now those might be more of a tavern game than actual sports, but it still allows for some chance for your characters to go out and just have some fun and do other things. I mean, for the most part, yes, we play our games because they're off on epic quests and adventures. But if you're like us and you really enjoy having long-running sessions, it might be fun every once in a while just to get together and see what do these people do when they're just hanging out. It can help really establish the relationships between the characters, and you never know what it might come up again later.
And it's a nice way to throw in a session that's not as high stakes. You know, if you lose the game, okay, all right, maybe if you bet on it, you lost some money, but it's not like, oh, if you lost a battle, well, your character's dead.
So down below in the comments, let us know if there's any sports games that your characters like to play or are in your different campaigns. We'd love to get introduced to a little bit more of them. Over the weekend, we will be getting together. All of our friends are coming over for a superb owl party. We will be pulling for the well-trained Broncos from Denver to crush those beasts, the Panthers. And so we look forward to reading what you have to say, and we'll see you next time on
Roll for initiative. Bye.
Bye.